Hey, welcome my fake baking friends. It's Cassie, and today I'm going to show you how to make some fake Pop Tarts. We're going to make a couple of different flavors, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing you'll need is some clay. You could literally use probably any kind of clay that you wanted. I'm going to use this Modelite. So I'm getting a pretty good sized ball out here, and I'm just going to condition it. And then I'm going to add some paint to this. So I'm going to add about 2 drops of this Territorial Beige. And then I'm going to add 2 drops of Pale Daffodil. And this is going to give us the base color of the Pop-Tart. So just mix that around until it's evenly distributed in the clay. Okay, so you should have a nice like light tan color, kind of like the uncooked pastry color. And then just roll it into a ball. And then I'm going to kind of stretch this out a little bit because we need to make a rectangle shape in the end. So I'm just going to start off with that shape. And then I'm just going to use my fingers and kind of start getting this shaped into a larger rectangle. Now, I'm going to try to keep the edges thinner because on a Pop-Tart where they put the filling, it kind of like is a little bit thicker. Not too much thicker, but a little bit. So I'm just going to keep that a little bit thicker in the center. And a real Pop-Tart is 3 inches wide by 5 inches long. So just in case you want to get it to the right size, I'm going to actually get mine to that size here in this video, and I'll show you how I do that, but just wanted to give you those measurements. So I'm going to take a ruler and let's see how close I am to the right size. So it needs to be a little bit wider and a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and press that out. And see how I have it domed up here just a little bit in the center. Okay, so now I'm a little bit over and a tiny bit under on the length. So I'm going to push it in a little bit. This will help me get the sides straight, and it also will take away that excess that I am over the measurement a little bit. Okay, so we're right on with the length. Okay, so there's the basic shape of my Pop-Tart. Now, to just kind of flatten this out a little bit and get it smoother, I'm going to take my clay rolling pin and just go across it just to smooth it out. I'm not necessarily trying to roll it out any. I'm not really applying any pressure. I'm just getting a smoother surface. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is make the little holes that are on Pop-Tarts. So I'm going to use a dotting tool, and mine has like a smaller end and then it has the larger end. I'm going to use the larger end. If you don't have one of these, you can use a toothpick, and to get a little bit bigger hole you may have to like move it around a little bit, but that'll work fine too. So Pop-Tarts have 5 dots across in the first row, then 4 in the next, then 5, then 4. So that's what I'm going to do here. So you're staggering the dots. You don't want all the dots in a row. You want each row to be staggered under the one above it. Now we need to add some shading to make it look like it's toasted. So I'm going to mix a few colors here. You may be able to just find a color for this, but I didn't have the right color, so I just made my own. So I'm using Territorial Beige again. And we're not going to need much of this at all, so I'm just basically putting a dot of each one in here. And then we're going to need Harvest Orange and Pale Daffodil. Okay, so now I really don't want any paint on my brush, like not any wetness. I just want to get all the excess off of there, and then I'm just going to lightly brush around the edge. I don't need to worry about the middle because I'm going to put frosting on this one. But if you were not going to frost it and have it an unfrosted Pop-Tart, then you would do this across the whole surface. So just lightly brush. And then get on those edges too. I mean, you could even do the back side as well if you want to. I'm not going to worry about it because, you know, how I display mine, it's not going to show. So I'm going to try to make this one look like the Wild Berry Pop-Tart, which is purple frosting. And then it has like a blue drizzle on it. So I think this Velvet Crush looks like the closest color to the actual color. So I'm going to try that one. So I'm going to use some Caulk that I grabbed at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to put some of that into my cup. And then I'm going to add some of my paint. And then a little bit of Mod Podge to make it shiny. Then I'm going to stir this up with a popsicle stick. And I'm also going to use the popsicle stick as my applicator for this as well. Okay, so I'm just going to take my Caulk mixture and I'm going to pour it right on to here. You don't really need a ton, so don't get carried away. You can always add more on. So I'm just going to spread it around like where the frosting normally is on a Pop-Tart. Now here's what I noticed. On real Pop-Tarts, at the bottom, they make it look like messy. So that's your choice if you want to make it look realistic and like, because like at the top it looks nice and, you know, kind of has the edge there, and then down here they have like kind of splotchy and it goes all the way to the bottom, which doesn't make much sense to me. But so, you know, you determine if you want it to look pretty or if you want it to look realistic. I think for this one I will make it look realistic, and then on the next one that I show you, I will make it look pretty. So I'm gonna put it down to the bottom then. Okay, and now I'm just going to try to make this look a little bit smoother. Okay, so for the drizzle color, I'm going to use this. It's called Medium Blue Shiny by Polymark. I've had this for a really long time. I don't know if they even still sell it. I'll try to link to this or something similar for you because I think it's pretty close to the real color. Okay, so this is how they have the drizzle. I don't remember if I said this is 3D fabric paint. You could also mix up your own caulk and Mod Podge and paint and just use that as your drizzle as you want, if you want to. Okay, so now I was thinking that we can do a, like this one has a bite taken out of it. So I'm gonna do that on this corner right here. So a round cookie cutter, or I mean, you could even just cut out a round, like a half circle shape. I'm going to use this martini shaker lid, and I'm just going to cut out a little section there. You could also do this before you put the frosting on if you want. It's going to make a mess on your cookie cutter if you do it at this point, but I just wanted to make sure none of my caulk mixture was like dripping down into there. Okay, so now I'm going to take a toothpick and I'm just going to make this look more realistic. So I'm going to press in some spaces, kind of like to make it look like teeth marks. This is a knife that I use to cut my clay. It's out of an X-Acto knife or that type of a knife. So I'm just going to make a slit here in the bite mark so we can add the filling in. And then I'm going to take my toothpick and just kind of open it up so that the filling will fit in there. Now to make the filling, we're going to use some silicone. The filling in this wild berry one is red, so I just am only going to need a tiny little bit here because it, you know, it's just a small space. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of silicone onto my wax paper. You could mix this in like a little cup or something too if you want to. And then I'm using alcohol ink, and I'll link to this alcohol ink for you in the description, but just red alcohol ink. I'm going to put a couple of drops and see how that goes. So just mix it up. I think that's pretty good. So then I'm going to go back to my toothpick, and I'm just going to put this on the toothpick and then put it in that little crevice that I cut into there. Now, the one thing I wanted to say though is make sure, because you know the filling's only in the center part, so you don't need to put filling over on this side or on this side, just put it to the center. And for your silicone, make sure that your container says 100% silicone. That's the right stuff to do this with. There we go. There's that one. Now we're going to make a different one. So the next one that we're going to make, I think we'll do the red velvet one. I thought that'd be fun to do the different colored pastries. Grab yourself another ball of clay and condition it. So for this one, I'm not going to add paint to my clay. We're just going to paint it afterwards because there's no way to get that really dark color by adding the paint to this. So it'll be easier just to paint the whole thing. So I'm going to shape it just like I did the last one. Okay, then I'm going to make the dots like I did on the last one as well. Okay, now let's mix up our paint. So for this one, I'm going to use a bright red. So I'm using True Red from Anita's, but any bright red will work. And then I'm going to add some melted chocolate from Apple Barrel. I'm just going to add a little at a time and see how my color turns out. I don't want to get it too dark and not be able to fix it. That looks like a pretty good red velvety color. Let's try it and see. Yeah, I think that's good. So again, I don't need to paint the center part because there will be frosting on there. Make sure you get into the little holes. So for this one, we're gonna put the frosting on, and then it has like sprinkled sugar on it. So I want to show you something. I did my example one, and I used bath salt that I got at Dollar Tree, and I colored it with alcohol ink. And I put it on wet caulk. And as you can see, the color just started oozing off of it. So I'm not sure if it was because of the caulk being wet and the salt started to melt, or if that's just what's going to happen. So I'm going to run some experiments here, and then I will let you know which one worked the best. The first thing I want to try is using sand instead of the bath salt. So I have this white sand. I got it at Walmart. They sell the same thing at Dollar Tree, on Amazon. So I've put some in a little plastic bag, and I'm going to color this red because the red velvet one has red sugar sprinkled on it. So I'm just going to add some drops of red to my bag and then shake it around so that the sand gets covered. And then I'm going to mix up some of my caulk mixture in white because this red velvet one has white frosting. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the caulk mixture on. Okay, now I'm going to sprinkle my sand that I just colored on. Okay, so there's the red velvet one. Now, if you wanted to do a bite out of this one, you can either use your caulk mixture as the filling, or you could use some spackle as the filling. It's kind of like a creamy white filling in this red velvet one. And then I'll share my experiment with you. So this one, I let the caulk dry already, so I'm going to try using the bath salt again. And I'm going to put Mod Podge, then the bath salt, and let it dry and see if that works or if it still gets weepy like that. Now I'm not going to put the Mod Podge on too thick, because if it's wet for too long, then I think that's going to cause the color to come off. So I wanted to pop in with an update since I have had a chance to see what the sand and the salt we're going to do. So remember, this is the one I put the colored sand on, and then this is the one that I used the bath salt. I put Mod Podge instead of putting it right into the caulk. Both of these worked out great, actually. With the Mod Podge one, the frosting is shinier, so depending if you want your frosting to be more shiny than this. And there was no seeping of the color off of the salt, and the salt didn't get melty or anything. So I think the Mod Podge dries up fast enough to keep it from getting that like weepy color everywhere that I got with this one, because I put it straight, this one I put straight into the caulk while it was wet. So there are the fake Pop Tarts, and if you haven't seen my fake Oreos and fake Twinkies videos, be sure to check those out. I'm going to link those for you on the end screen. And thank you so much for joining me today. I've had so much fun, and I will see you in the next video.